as we wrap up this Christmas day, leading the evening here on December 25, 2024. Let's take a deep dive into a holiday classic, A Christmas Story. You've probably seen it countless times, but tonight, we're going beyond the laughs to uncover some hidden depths. With the help of Quentin Schultz, a friend of the original storyteller himself, Gene Shepherd.
What's fascinating about Schultz's book, You'll Shoot Your Eye Out, Life Lessons from the Movie A Christmas Story, is how he reveals the parables woven throughout the film. It's like Shepherd hid these little nuggets of wisdom beneath the surface of this hilarious, heartwarming story.
Okay, let's start with something iconic, the leg lamp. It's pure comedy gold, writes. But Schultz sees it as something much more.
He interprets the leg lamp as a symbol of a trophy wife, highlighting the old man's instant infatuation and his desire to display it prominently. It reflects a tension between male desire and family life, something that resonated with Shepherd's own experiences.
Because Shepherd's own father left the family when he was young.
Exactly, that sense of male obsession, of desire potentially pulling a man away from his family, is a recurring theme in his work.
So the leg lamp isn't just a sight gag. It's a window into a deeper, more complex theme. And it gets even more interesting when you consider where the leg lamp ends up, right in the middle of Mom's cherished plants.
That placement is key. Schultz suggests that Shepherd saw Mom's plants as representing a kind of Garden of Eden, her peaceful domestic space. The leg lamp, this symbol of temptation, disrupts that harmony.
Wow, so the leg lamp becomes this intrusion of sin, almost. It disrupts the peace, causes conflict, and ultimately leads to its own demise. It makes you wonder, is it just a funny coincidence? Or was Shepherd intentionally making a statement about the things we desire and the consequences they can bring?
It's definitely open to interpretation, but I think Schultz makes a compelling case for these deeper layers of meaning. And speaking of things that cause chaos, let's move on to the furnace. Every time that thing breaks down, it's like the old man is descending into some kind of technological hell.
Right. You can practically feel his frustration, all that colorful language coming from the basement. But Schultz takes it a step further, connecting the furnace to Dante's Inferno.
He compares the basement to hell, with the furnace as this demonic force that the old man can never truly conquer. It's a brilliant metaphor for our relationship with technology in general, don't you think? We think it's going to make our lives easier, but it can also be incredibly frustrating and demanding.
Think about our smartphones. We rely on them for so much, but they can also be major distractions, constantly vying for our attention.
Exactly. It's like we're all battling our own personal furnaces in a way. Shepherd seemed to understand that irony, that technology often promises more than it delivers.
Now let's talk about a parable that's become a cultural catchphrase. You'll shoot your eye out. I mean, who hasn't wanted something so badly that they'd even face Santa for it? Ralphie's desire for that Red Ryder BB gun is something we can all relate to.
That scene is classic. And Schultz points out the double meaning of that phrase. On the surface, it's a warning about the literal danger of the gun. But on a deeper level, it's a cautionary tale about the danger of unchecked desire and not thinking through the consequences of our actions.
And Shepherd himself saw this as a key life lesson, a warning against arrogance and impulsiveness. It makes you think about all those times you've gone after something single-mindedly, only to realize later that it wasn't worth the cost, or that there were unforeseen consequences.
Right. We can get so fixated on a goal that we don't stop to consider the potential downsides. It's a lesson that resonates throughout life. We're all capable of being blinded by our desires, just like Ralphie.
Speaking of consequences, didn't Ralphie actually end up shooting his eye out? I vaguely remember something about his glasses.
He did, but not quite in the way everyone feared. He hits a target that ricochets and knocks his glasses off. Then he accidentally steps on them.
But he blames it on an icicle.
Yeah.
Classic Ralphie, always trying to avoid getting in trouble.
A masterful cover-up, which of course adds to the humor. But even in that little mishap, there's a lesson about those unintended consequences, even when our actions seem harmless.
I wonder if Shepherd was intentionally playing with this theme of consequences and how we often don't see them coming.
It's a recurring motif in his work, and it speaks to a deeper truth about life, that things rarely go exactly as planned, and that even our best intentions can lead to unexpected outcomes. It's a humbling thought. And perhaps that's part of what makes A Christmas Story so relatable. It's not a sugar-coated holiday tale, but a story about real life, with all its messiness and unpredictable turns.
And yet, amidst all the chaos and mishaps, there's still a sense of hope, especially in that final scene where Mom and the old man are reconciled, gazing out the window where the leg lamp once stood.
That scene is beautiful in its simplicity. The leg lamp, that symbol of temptation and division, is gone. The snow falls softly, suggesting a fresh start, and Mom and the old man are united, hinting at the possibility of lasting peace.
It's such a peaceful, almost sacred moment after all the craziness of the day. What do you think Shepard was trying to convey with that ending?
I think he was highlighting the enduring power of love and forgiveness, even in the face of human fallibility. It's a reminder that even when we make mistakes, even when we get caught up in our obsessions or desires, there's always the possibility of redemption and reconciliation.
It's a message that resonates deeply,
Yep.
especially during the holidays.
Absolutely. And it's a reminder that we shouldn't underestimate the power of grace to heal and restore, both within ourselves and in our relationships with others.
Okay, we've explored the leg lamp, the furnace, the infamous BB gun, and the movie's hopeful ending. What other parables did Schultz uncover in A Christmas Story? I bet there are more.
Oh, there are plenty. For instance, the recurring motif of the Bumpus hounds. Remember those pesky neighbors and their pack of dogs, always causing trouble? Even stealing the Christmas turkey.
Of course. They were like a force of nature, always disrupting the Parkers' attempts at holiday bliss. But they were more than just a nuisance, right?
Exactly. Schultz argues that those dogs represent the forces of chaos and disorder that constantly disrupt our attempts at domestic bliss.
It's like those dogs are a metaphor for all the unexpected challenges that life throws our way, the things that threaten to derail our plans and upend our sense of order.
Precisely. They represent the wild card factor, the things we can't predict or control, no matter how hard we try.
And isn't there also a connection to social class in the way the Bumpuses are portrayed? They're kind of the other in Ralphie's world, living outside the norms of middle-class society.
That's a great observation. Schultz touches on the class dynamics at play in the film, pointing out that the Bumpuses represent a lower-class counterpoint to the Parkers' aspirational middle-class life.
It's like Shepard was using those dogs to highlight the social divisions that existed, even in a seemingly idyllic small-town setting. And speaking of social dynamics, what about the old man's colorful language? Remember those wonderfully creative obscenities that were always muffled in the film?
Oh, absolutely. They're a hallmark of Shepard's storytelling. And Schultz suggests that those censored swear words actually serve an important purpose beyond comedic effect.
Really, I was just assumed they were there for laughs.
Well, they're definitely funny, but Schultz argues that they also represent a kind of rebellion against the constraints of polite society. They're the old man's way of blowing off steam, of expressing his frustration with the limitations of his life.
So the old man's swearing is his way of asserting his individuality, of refusing to be completely tamed by the expectations of the world around him.
Exactly. It's interesting because, in a way, that's something Ralphie is also grappling with. He's trying to navigate the rules and expectations of childhood, while also yearning for a sense of autonomy and agency.
That's a great connection. Both Ralphie and the old man are, in their own ways, pushing back against the confines of their roles. They're both seeking a way to express their true selves, even if it means bending the rules a bit.
And notice how, even though Ralphie is punished for his outburst, there's a sense of pride in his voice as he recounts the story. He knows he did something wrong. But he also feels a sense of satisfaction in finally standing up to his bully.
It's a complicated mix of emotions.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think it's a moment of growth for Ralphie.
I agree. It's a step toward becoming his own person, toward finding his voice and using it to shape his world. And perhaps that's a parable in itself, a reminder that growth often comes with discomfort and a willingness to challenge the status quo.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground already. Leg lamps, furnaces, Bumpus hounds, and even the old man's colorful vocabulary. But we've only scratched the surface of the parables Schultz uncovers, so let's dive into a few more, shall we?
Absolutely. Let's talk about the decoder ring that Ralphie obsesses over. Remember, he spends hours glued to the Little Orphan Annie radio show, waiting for the secret message.
Oh, yeah. He's convinced that decoder ring holds the key to some great mystery. And then, what does the message turn out to be?
Be sure to drink your Ovaltine. What a letdown after all that anticipation.
Talk about anticlimactic, but that's part of the parable.
Exactly. Schultz suggests that the decoder ring represents a longing for something more, for hidden knowledge or a deeper truth. It's like a metaphor for our search for meaning in life.
We're always looking for grand revelations, but maybe the answers are right in front of us. Simple and practical, like drinking your Ovaltine.
Precisely. Maybe Shepard was hinting that true wisdom often lies in embracing the everyday, in finding the extraordinary within the ordinary. It's a comforting thought in a way. We don't have to go on some epic quest to find meaning. It might be right here, in the simple things.
Speaking of simple things, what about that infamous pink bunny suit? It's hard to forget Ralphie's mortification when he's forced to wear that thing. Pure comedy gold.
Yeah,
But is there a deeper meaning there?
there is. Schultz connects the pink bunny suit to the theme of childhood innocence and the way adults sometimes try to hold on to that innocence, even to a child's embarrassment.
So Aunt Clara, with her well-intentioned gift, is trying to keep Ralphie, her little boy, even though he's clearly outgrowing that phase.
Exactly. And the pink bunny suit becomes a symbol of those attempts to freeze time and prevent children from growing up.
Which is a losing battle, of course. As much as we might want to hold on, kids grow up.
Inevitably. And Shepard acknowledges that bittersweet reality, but with a healthy dose of humor. He also pokes fun at how adults sometimes project their own ideas of cute onto children without realizing how mortifying it might be for the child.
We've all been there. Whether it's an awkward gift from a relative or being dressed in something we find embarrassing, we've all felt that tension between our desire for self-expression and the expectations of the adults in our lives.
And Shepard captures that universal experience in such a visually memorable way. That pink bunny suit is iconic.
It really is. Okay, so we've talked about the leg lamp, the furnace, the BB gun, the decoder ring, and now the pink bunny suit. Is there anything else in A Christmas Story that Schultz interprets as a parable?
Oh, there's plenty more. But I think the most significant parable, the one that ties everything together, is the one about grace and reconciliation.
You mean that final scene where Mom and the old man are gazing out the window, the snow falling softly outside?
Exactly. Schultz argues that this quiet moment represents a kind of spiritual resolution, a moment of peace and unity after all the chaos and conflict of the day.
It's like all that tension just melts away,
Yeah.
and we're left with a feeling of hope and renewal.
Right. The leg lamp, the symbol of temptation and division, is gone. The old man's obsession is quelled, at least for now. And Mom and the old man are united, their love for each other rekindled.
It's a beautiful reminder that even amidst life's messiness, even when we make mistakes and get caught up in our desires, there's always the possibility of forgiveness and a fresh start.
And that message resonates deeply, especially during the holidays, when we often reflect on our relationships and try to mend broken fences.
It also speaks to something universal about the human experience. We all long for connection, for a sense of belonging, even when we don't always deserve it.
And grace is about receiving that unearned love and forgiveness, being embraced despite our imperfections.
So, in a way, A Christmas Story isn't just a funny holiday movie. It's a story about the search for grace and redemption, both within ourselves and in our relationships with others.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And it's a testament to the depth of Shepard's storytelling, that he can wedge such profound themes into a seemingly simple and light-hearted tale.
It's amazing how much meaning can be packed into something as seemingly trivial as a leg lamp or a pink bunny suit.
It's a reminder that we should never underestimate the power of a good story, to illuminate the truths of the human experience.
Well, I think we've done a pretty thorough job of unpacking those truths in A Christmas Story.
We have, but there's always more to discover. And that's the beauty of a good parable. It keeps revealing new layers of meaning each time we revisit it.
And speaking of revisiting, didn't Shepard write a bunch of other stories about Ralphie and his family? Are those also full of hidden parables?
Absolutely. Shepard's work is a treasure trove of wisdom and humor, and if you're interested in exploring further, I highly recommend checking out his books, In God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash, and Wanda Hickey's Night of Golden Memories and Other Disasters. They're both full of the same quirky characters and insightful observations that we find in A Christmas Story.
Excellent recommendations. I'm definitely adding those to my reading list. And for our listeners who are already fans of A Christmas Story, I think this deep dive has given us a whole new way to appreciate the film's depth and complexity.
I agree. It's amazing how a movie we've seen countless times can still surprise us with its hidden layers of meaning.
And as we wrap up part 2 of our deep dive,
Yeah.
I think it's appropriate to leave our listeners with one final question to ponder.
Oh, I love a good thought-provoking question. What have you got for us?
Well, Schultz argues that one of the recurring themes in Shepard's stories is that new obsessions and temptations always arise, just when one problem is solved. Another one pops up.
That's true. Whether it's a leg lamp, a malfunctioning furnace, or a coveted BB gun, there's always something new vying for the character's attention.
So my question for our listeners is this. What does this say about human nature? Are we destined to always be chasing after something, never fully satisfied with what we have?
It's a profound question, and it's particularly relevant as we wrap up this Christmas day. Think about it. It's a time when we're bombarded with messages about what we should want, what will make us happy.
And those messages often feed that feeling of never having enough, of always needing something more.
Exactly. And A Christmas Story seems to be tapping into that, especially with Ralphie's intense desire for that BB gun. It feels like a commentary on the way advertising targets children, creating those almost insatiable desires.
Schultz definitely picks up on that critique in Shepard's work.
Yeah.
He points out how aware Shepard was of the manipulative power of advertising and how it preys on our insecurities and vulnerabilities.
And it's interesting how, in the end, the most meaningful gift Ralphie receives isn't the BB gun at all. It's that unexpected moment of connection with his father.
It really drives home the point that true fulfillment often comes not from material possessions, but from those human bonds, from knowing you're loved and accepted for who you are.
It's a powerful reminder that the most precious things in life can't be found under a tree or in a store window. Those intangible gifts of love, connection, and belonging are what truly enrich our lives.
Well, I feel like we've really explored the heart of A Christmas Story tonight. It's amazing how much depth and wisdom is hidden beneath the surface of this classic film.
It's a testament to Shepard's genius as a storyteller. He had a knack for weaving humor and genuine insight into seemingly simple tales. And I think Schultz's book provides a valuable lens for understanding those deeper layers of meaning. It's given us all a new way to appreciate this heartwarming holiday story.
As we wrap up this Christmas Day deep dive, what do you think is the most important takeaway for our listeners?
I think it's the power of those parables, the enduring relevance of the lessons they offer, the importance of grace, the pitfalls of getting caught up in our desires, the beauty of human connection. These are themes that resonate throughout life, not just at Christmas.
And maybe like Ralphie, we can all learn to appreciate the unexpected gifts that life throws our way, even if they're not the ones we initially hoped for.
That's a great point. As we gather with loved ones and reflect on this special day, let's remember the spirit of A Christmas Story. Let's be open to those moments of grace, those connections that nourish our souls, and let's not forget to laugh along the way.
Beautifully said. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this deep dive into the heartwarming parables of A Christmas Story, feel free to like and share the joy with others, and don't forget to subscribe for more heartwarming content. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.